I think the third time is going to be a charm with us here. Thanks for bearing with us. Welcome to the Harris County Flood Control District's virtual community engagement meeting to discuss the Buffalo Speedway Bridge Construction update. This virtual community meeting is being offered by the Flood Control District to continue to share vital information with the community during this period when in-person public meetings have been suspended due to safety concerns from the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Sheldra Brigham. I'm with the Flood Control District's communications team. I'm joined tonight by a team of Flood Control District leadership and subject matter experts to ensure we continue to keep you up to date on these important flood mitigation projects in your community. We are also joined by staff from area elected officials' offices and community associations. We're glad to see all the community so engaged in these projects, and we look forward to continuing to share updates and keeping all of you in the community involved. This virtual public meeting will begin with a presentation to share updates, including the construction schedule and other important information for construction projects for the Buffalo Speedway Bridge. The presentation will be followed by a virtual question and answer session with Flood Control District team members. Attendees will be able to submit comments and questions through the website, or you'll be able to do so by phone. Any comments not addressed during the Q&A session will receive a response from the Flood Control District following the public comment period. Now, instructions on how you can participate in the virtual open house are included on this slide. They're on the virtual meeting webpage and on the Buffalo Speedway Bridge project page on projectbrays.org. And I'll also share a reminder of these instructions when we reach the Q&A portion of tonight's meeting. We will now transition to Gary Zika, the Federal Projects Manager with the Flood Control District, who will share information about the district and then also about this project. Gary, over to you.
Thank you. Special thanks for each of you joining us tonight. In this presentation, we'll give you a brief overview of the project, but before we get into the project specifics, we want to share some information about Harris County Flood Control District. Harris County Flood Control District is a special purpose district created by the Texas legislation in 1937 in response to the floods that hit the Houston area in 1929 and 1935. The Flood Control District was created to serve as a local partner to leverage federal funding for flood damage reduction projects. Our mission has greatly expanded over the 80 years with billions of dollars in infrastructure improvements in the ground. While we are a separate entity from the Harris County Commissioners Court serves as our governing body. Harris County includes 22 different watersheds, each with its own unique characteristics and needs. For this meeting, we're focusing on the Brays Bayou watershed in southwest Harris County. It's the big red star that you see down there on the slide. Brays watershed, which is what the slide is showing, is approximately 128 square miles. It has a population of over 700,000 people. That 700,000 people hasn't really varied over the last 20 years. The latest census information isn't out yet, but once that gets out, we'll be updating that if it's changed very much. It's the bayou is 31 miles long. It's the longest bayou in Harris County. The bayou begins at the mouth at the Houston Ship Channel, which is on the very far right-hand side of this slide, and moves all the way out to Highway 6 on the west end, and the water travels from the west end down to the Houston Ship Channel to the east. It touches many different communities along the way, including the Texas Medical Center, the Marland communities, and Westbury area. In 1980, after the completion of the earlier federal project, which added the concrete lining to portions of Brays Bayou, the watershed continued to experience flooding. As a result, Project Brays, which is a federal partnership effort with the United States Army Corps of Engineers, was initiated. Project Brays is a flood control district's largest flood damage reduction initiative to date. When completed, it is estimated that Project Brays will cost more than $480 million and reduce the risk of flooding for thousands of residents and businesses along Brays Bayou. In the photo on the slide, you can see that's the Buffalo Speedway Bridge and the concrete lining that's been mentioned. That you can see that in the bottom of the channel. In Project Brays, we've got three main tools that we use. One is storing water in detention basins. We slow the water down in the upper portions of the watershed. The flood control district's detention basins of Eldridge, Old Westheimer, Arthur Story Park, and Willow Waterhole cover more than 800 acres of land and hold more than 10,000 acre-feet of storage in the four basins. That's our first part. The second part is channel modifications. And so we're trying to move more water out of the watershed from the lower end. So there's 21 miles of channel widening and deepening. That basically goes from Fondren all the way down to the Houston Ship Channel. The channel modifications then lead to the 32 bridge replacements that we either have to do replacements, extensions, or modifications. And if you can't widen the channel without doing something with the bridges, and so that's where it leads to the 32 bridges. There's more than 32 bridges along the stretch of the channel, but that's the 32 that we've had to do modifications to. The majority of the channel modifications are complete to date, and there are 10 bridge replacements or modifications that remain along the bayou to reach the full benefits of Project Brays. There are 4 currently under construction, which include the Ardmore Bridge, Telephone, Lawndale, and the Galveston Sub. There are 6 left to start that include South 75th, Calhoun, Elmeda, South Rice, and Chimney Rock. And the 6th one is Buffalo Speedway, which is the one we want to talk about tonight. The Buffalo Speedway is located with Brays Bayou intersects Buffalo Speedway. It's shown on the slide, kind of right in the center. This artist rendering of the Buffalo Speedway Bridge project will demolish and replace the current bridge with a higher, longer, and wider bridge. This will increase the capacity of the channel and allow for more floodwaters to flow through Brays Bayou. The new bridge will be 4 lanes wide, including a left turn lane at each intersection, and have expanded 10-foot wide sidewalks on both sides of the bridge. The construction cost is estimated to be approximately $9.5 million, with the city of Houston contributing towards the cost of the sidewalk enhancements and the left turn lane on the bridge. As part of Project Brays, the Harris County Flood Control located, surveyed, and inventoried every tree along the bayou to determine the health and the type. We've been using these surveys in our planning and design process to ensure the preservation and moving or replacement of existing trees. As a result of our efforts, more than 800 more acres of green space will be created along for residents and businesses in the Brays Bayou watershed. Another important program implemented by the Harris County Flood Control District's Maintenance and Infrastructure Department is the Wildflower Program, which allows Harris County Flood Control District to plant native wildflowers along the bayou, increasing its beauty. Keep in mind that the additional trees and shrubs and flowers will occur once the flood damage reduction projects of Project Brays is complete. And in your area, that means that we've got to get the bridges complete. We're trying to give the contractor enough working area around the bridges. We will be impacting trees in the immediate area of the Buffalo Speedway Bridge. Some of those are on city right-of-way, which we've got tree permits to remove those trees. And then we'll be mitigating those trees along with planting more additional trees in the immediate area of the intersection and along the bayou. So to date, we've already planted 52,000 trees and shrubs along the bayous. A fair bit of that's in the detention basins, but we've also done along the channel, the freshwater marsh. Traffic detour during construction. The Buffalo Speedway Bridge will be completely closed to commuter and pedestrian traffic. When traveling northbound on Buffalo Speedway, the detours will direct the traffic to the Kirby Bridge crossing. That will go over Brays, and then you could use North Brayswood to get back to Buffalo Speedway. If you're heading south, the detours will direct you to the Stella Link Bridge, which we've recently completed, and then from Stella Link, you'll be directed back to the Buffalo Speedway road heading south. And we urge everyone to follow the detours. There's going to be road closures. When I say road closures, the bridge will be closed, so there'll be no through traffic across the bayou at Buffalo Speedway during construction. We'll also be having lane closures on North Brayswood and South Brayswood. So the east-west direction on both those roads will be down to 1 lane in each direction. And so there'll be a lot of, the intersections have to be completely rebuilt. So there'll be a lot of changes of those detours. So one day you may be going and you're sticking to the left side. You know, a week later, it may be to the right side. So please follow all the detour signs and warning signs. Pedestrian detour during the construction of the Buffalo Speedway Bridge will be completely closed to commuter and the pedestrian traffic. The detour for the pedestrian traffic will direct people on the trail that goes east and west along Brays Bayou to the sidewalk along North Braeswood, all the way down past the Buffalo Speedway Road, all the way down to Stella Link, which will get you back on the main trail going east and west. Construction schedule. The Greenbrier Bridge was completed the summer of 2020. We still got a little bit of punch list work down there. So it's not 100% complete, but it's open to traffic and open for the flow of the water. Stella Link was completed in the fall of 2020. And the Buffalo Speedway Bridge, we're looking at this winter 2020 and 21 for the Buffalo Speedway to start. And at this point, we'll be turning it back over.
All right. Thank you, Gary, for that helpful overview of this project. Some really good information. Before we move into the Q&A session tonight, I do want to give you a quick reminder that we'd love to hear from you on this and other projects rolling out across Harris County. If you have any additional comments or questions throughout the life cycle of this project, or if you'd like to sign up to receive email updates on this project and other projects that are going on in the watershed, you can visit projectbrays.org. Now, community engagement is a really important component of the work that we do, and we really invite your continued participation as projects move forward. Now, as a reminder, there are 3 ways you can submit a comment about this project during tonight's session. You can submit a comment on this site in the box near the presentation live stream. You can submit a comment on the Flood Control District's website and at projectbrays.org, or you can submit a comment by phone. And that number is 855-925-2801. You'll want to utilize the meeting code 5362. And if you are joining us by phone tonight, please press *3 to leave a message. Additionally, I do want to reiterate that any questions we're not able to address tonight will receive a response from the Flood Control District after the public comment period. Also, information from this meeting, as well as a recording of the live stream, will be available on our website, and it will also be available on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and rewatch if there's anything that you missed. Another project expert joining Gary tonight for our Q&A session is Rusty Lannon, and we will go ahead and get to your questions. And our first question is going to be for Gary. And Gary, that question is, will the bridge project reduce the risk of flooding along Brays Bayou?
Yes, this is the replacement of the Buffalo Speedway Bridge is part of the Project Brays, and part of Project Brays has got over 70 some different components. Each component adds to the improved benefits or reducing the risk of flooding along Brays Bayou. So yes, this bridge will help reduce the risk of flooding along Brays Bayou.
Thank you, Gary. Our next question is for Rusty. Rusty, will there be disruptions to trails, pedestrian routes during the bridge construction?
Yes, there'll be disruptions to the trails. The trail on the bottom of the channel will be closed and detoured to North Braeswood. Trails that are crossing the bridge will be detoured around to North Braeswood and to Stella Link. Our main concern is people's safety, and you don't want people to be walking through active construction sites.
Good advice, Rusty. Our next question is for Gary. And Gary, when will I see a reduction in my flood insurance rate from the work completed by Project Brays?
Project Brays, once all of Project Brays, which includes all the remaining bridges and a little bit of channel work at each one of the bridges, is complete, Flood Control will go through and add that into the hydraulic and hydrology models. They'll also be adding, when they revise those models, they'll also be adding what they call the Atlas 14, which is the increased rain amounts into the models. Once that's all done, there's a period that FEMA has to review it. There's public comments. So you're still years away from the maps being revised from the improvements of Project Brays and the Atlas 14 additional rainfall. We don't expect actually very much change in the maps in terms of where the floodplains are, but with Project Brays, we are definitely reducing the risk of the flooding because of the channel improvements, the detention basins, and our bridge changes that we've got.
Thank you, Gary. Next question is for you as well. It's from Michelle, and she's asking, as part of the Buffalo Speedway Bridge, will there be railing along the pedestrian path by the street for safety?
On the Buffalo Speedway Bridge, presently the sidewalks are about 3 feet wide. The city requirements for the updates of redoing the bridge was 6 foot. The city also wanted, and that's one of the things the city did, was pay for additional wider sidewalks up to 10 foot wide. These are raised sidewalks, so you're a step above basically of the actual traffic where the tires are up from the traffic on the pavement. If you put a rail between the sidewalk, you're going to eat up some of the sidewalk with the rail, and the bicyclists that are going down the road where they're going to be on, if they're on the road, they don't particularly care for having a rail that they could get hung up on. On the other bridges, what we've typically done is not had any rail there, and that's what the city's approved, and that's what we're going to proceed with. Is there's no rail on between the 10-foot wide sidewalks and the traffic.
Thank you, Gary. We also have a comment from Fred this evening. Fred says, last time you were to start this construction, I think 2 years ago this month, you closed the bridge the day before Thanksgiving, then had no activity on the bridge over the weekend. That simply inconvenienced everyone for no reason. Please do not close the bridge just before the holiday when there clearly will not be any construction activity. Gary, you want to comment on that?
Sure. This contractor, the first thing he's going to probably do is shut down the traffic on the bridge, put up all the detours that he needs to do for getting the east and westbound, north and south Brayswood down the one lane in both directions. The first thing he's going to have to do is work on the force main bridge, which is parallel just downstream of it's presently on the present day bridge, but there's going to be a brand new force main bridge that's going to be built just downstream of the future replacement bridge. So that's probably the first things he's going to work on. He'll also work on making those tie-ins into the existing force main where it comes from the south and gets discharged to the north. So the plan is they have a lot of activity. You've been seeing some activities out there now with the communications lines have been taken off the bridge. CenterPoint Energy is in the process of just installing some new electrical poles that they're going to reroute the electrics around the bridge area. So we've got a clear construction area.
Thank you, Gary. Our next question is from Rusty, and Rusty, it's a comment from David. David commented that the sidewalk detours, in his opinion, are unsafe for cyclists. Are we considering any other detour plans during the construction period?
The detour plan you're seeing there is the detour plan that we're going with. That's what the city of Houston approved for pedestrians as they walk. Cyclists are okay to be in the street where they can obey, normal traffic rules. But that is the detour that we have in place now. If during construction we see that there is a need to do something different, we can adjust plans.
Thank you, Rusty. And Gary, Mark is asking, when does the project break ground?
Working with a contract, it's already the bridge work is already under contract with a contractor. It's a multiple of bridges, the South 75th, Lawndale, Telephone, Alameda, a couple other sites plus this bridge. And as soon as he gets ready, the goal is to have construction start before the end of the year.
All right, and for Rusty, what about lighting on the bridge? Will there be lighting installed?
As this bridge doesn't have existing lighting on it, we are not installing lighting on it, but we are installing pedestals. If you look at the picture, you see the two little pedestals on the side of the bridge that are even with the columns. They will have conduit and the pedestals to where the city of Houston can place lighting there in the future. The citizens in the area can work with their local city of Houston council member, and they can work with Centerpoint to get the lighting put on the bridge.
Thank you, Rusty. This is for Gary from Harold. Harold is asking, we were told the bridge would have a full span with no feet in the water. This design will have feet in the water during heavy rain events when unobstructed flow would be most critical.
Yeah, when you're saying feet in the water, what we're putting in today is going to be, the new bridge is going to be a 3-span bridge. It's always has been a 3-span bridge. I'm not sure we've got that information about it, like what we'd call a clear span across the bayou. But this greatly reduces the number of piers that are in there today. I think there's about 7 of them in there today, so we're getting it down to 2. It's about economics, and every bridge is going to have some impact in terms of slowing it down. That's why we are bringing the bridge. It's going to be higher, longer, and wider. We've only got 2 piers that are down in what we call what the water sees flowing down the channel. So it's a vast improvement over what's there today.
Thank you, Gary. A lot of folks concerned about traffic. Rusty, Scott is asking, can traffic lights in the immediate area, Kirby and Stella Link intersections, be adjusted prior to the bridge closing to proactively lessen expected traffic congestion?
We're going to work with the city of Houston to try to do that, to where they adjust the timing. They probably won't adjust the timing until the bridge is actually closed, but we can work with them to be out there when we do close the traffic to adjust the traffic timing. In the first few days will be, bad, because even with the detours, people are going to be not used to it. Traffic tends to adjust over time, but we will have the city of Houston out there working on the lights when we first close the bridge.
Alrighty. John is asking Gary if there will be a bike path installed under the bridge.
Presently, there's no trail underneath the Buffalo Speedway, either on the north side or the south side. The trail, the east-west trail, is on the north side coming from the east, and then crosses across the bridge and then picks it up on the south side heading west. We're basically going to maintain that same configuration. The Houston Parks Board is looking at additional trails on the lower shelf. We've been working with them closely. You'll see we do have maintenance ramps in the immediate area. And those maintenance ramps can be utilized as part of the trail connections, but for us, they're maintenance ramps. But for the Houston Parks and Recreation, Houston Parks Board, they end up using some of those ramps for trails.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, Rusty, we got another traffic question. People want some reassurance on what's going to happen with this. This next question, can we be assured, and I know you just touched on it a little bit, but can we be assured that the Flood Control District will work closely with City of Houston Traffic Control to intelligently reprogram the traffic light sequence timing once the bridge is closed? I ask that because when the bridge closed previously for a limited period of time, the light sequence was a disaster. Currently, the timing favors Buffalo Speedway over South Brayswood Boulevard. This needs to be reversed at a minimum. Let's talk traffic some more.
Yes, I guess you can be assured that. I mean, you're using a lot of words like assured and unintelligent and disaster, and we will work with the City of Houston to update the timing on the lights to allow the flow of traffic to be as best as can be expected. I know over I think 4,500 cars drive across this bridge a day, or it's a lot of cars drive across this, and so they're going to have to go to Kirby and South Rice. So it's a detour that's the shortest way possible, and we'll work with the city to adjust the lights as can be, but they'll probably have to adjust them a few times because when traffic lessens or holidays or schools and such start to reopen, there'll be adjustments over time.
All right, thank you, Rusty. And Tim is asking if the bike/walking path will be completed on the south side of Buffalo to Kirby, and that's for Rusty.
We will not be installing that. It is currently not there, so we can't rebuild it because it's not currently in place. Houston Parks and Recreation will come back, and they're building trails throughout Brays Bayou, and they will potentially build a trail in the near future.
All right, thank you, Rusty. Gary, Libby wants to know a little bit more about the timeline. She's asking, how long will the work last, or what is your target completion date?
Yeah, with the work starting towards the end of this year, we're hoping that the work for the bridge, getting it all open back to open for traffic and the pedestrians, will be the end of 2021. So it's basically a year's worth of construction.
All righty. This is for Rusty from Caroline. She's asking, we have a lot of pedestrians and bikers who use Link Meadow Lane to access the Bayou at South Braeswood. Given the flow of pedestrians away from Buffalo Speedway going forward, we anticipate more pedestrians accessing the Bayou. How can we get pedestrian sign or repainted crosswalk at South Braeswood and Linkwood just east of Stella Link?
I think you're asking if the flood control can put a crosswalk across South Braeswood, and that would be a City of Houston question. We're dealing with detours at current crossings and not trying to add additional ones. But the City of Houston might be able to add something like that. They don't seem to like to do that very often, but it is something that you can reach out to them and see if they can do that for you.
All right. And Gary, Will is asking, after the Buffalo Bridge is complete, will ramps and a trail be built for bikes, walking, and jogging like you built at the new Stella Link Bridge? The Stella Link Bridge is amazing.
At the Stella Link Bridge, there were already ramps that were in place before we did the extension of the bridge, the ramps that took the trail going east and west underneath the bridge. Buffalo Speedway Bridge does not have that today, and as part of the Project Brays, we could only replace things that were there before the project started. So there's none there today. That's not in our work scope to put new ones in there. But again, the Houston Parks and Recreation is coming behind us after we rebuild the bridge, put the shelves in there. There'll be opportunities to put the trails down on the lower shelf, and there'll also be opportunities to use our maintenance ramps.
All right, this next one is for Rusty. Jane asked, on the Stella Link Bridge, you narrowed the street by over 6 feet each direction. Watching traffic, I think the Stella Link street is dangerously narrow. Are you also narrowing Buffalo Speedway?
No, we're not narrowing Buffalo Speedway. Stella Link Bridges, it was only narrowed by 4 feet in each direction, and the widths of the lanes there, I think, are 10 feet, which is narrow than normal, but not too narrow. It still fits in the Houston regulations. The reason we did that is we kept the existing bridge and we widened an existing sidewalk, so that we had to widen the sidewalk, we had to narrow the bridge, the lanes. And with Buffalo Speedway, we're building a new bridge. So the new bridge is much wider than the existing bridge, because there will be 4 lanes and 10-foot wide sidewalks, or it'll be 5 lanes and 10-foot wide sidewalks. So it's over 65 feet wide, plus the handrails on each side. As currently, it's probably only about 47 or 50 feet wide.
Okay. What about side streets? Rebecca is asking about the side streets, Rusty, along Buffalo Speedway. She wants to know, what is the plan for slowing down the traffic through the neighborhood?
There will be detours around the neighborhood because we have to rebuild a lot of the side streets, especially on the north side. And as we rebuild those, we'll be detouring traffic around them and away from those areas. Usually with cones and detour signs and all construction going on there, there's a general congestion of traffic makes it slower.
Thank you, Rusty. I'm going to attempt this question from Bernard. Get back to it here. Screen jumped. Gary, Bernard is asking, when you lower the finished grade and expose the old jagged drill shaft concrete is a real eyesore. Some of the old DS tops at the Stella Link are pretty ugly. Can you saw off bigger nubs? If strength is a concern, they could be wrapped with carbon fiber, perhaps? That's what Bernard is asking.
Yeah, this particular bridge is being completely rebuilt, so we're not saving any of the existing drill shafts. There's a communication line bridge just upstream of the bridge. There might be a little bit of exposure on some of those foundations, but in general, all the bridge piers are all going to be new, along with the force main bridge. So we're not going to have that problem on this particular bridge. I think what he's talking about, what you see down at Stella Link, where we had some existing piers that we kept in place. And you really can't, you don't like to go when you say saw off the bigger nubs, is that one thing leads to another. So we don't normally saw off additional things. So that's kind of what we've done. So this bridge really shouldn't have that problem. I'm going to go ahead and answer that next one. Is the
yeah, Gary, Linda's asking, how will the bridge be demolished?
Yeah, it's basically the bridge will be once they get the force main off the existing bridge. That's a sanitary force main where they're pumping effluent from the south side to the north side. They've got to get that off the bridge. Then the contractor's free to start taking the bridge down. They'll use methods, concrete saws and big jackhammers on excavators. They'll lift pieces off of it. There's a whole combination of just about anything they can do to get that bridge out of there. It doesn't take them that long to take the bridge down once they start getting at it. It's almost frightening in terms of how fast they could take one of those bridges out, but they'll put a lot of equipment on it, and they go down in about a week's time. It'll be gone once he gets to that point.
Thank you, Gary. Rusty, Jack is asking, will north and south Brayswood be down to 1 lane in each direction from the onset of construction, or only during intersection construction?
Jack, it looks like they will detour traffic onto the north and south Brayswood for the better part of the whole project while they're demoing the bridge and installing the force main.
Thank you, Rusty. And Gary, Scott is asking, will the contractor place detour signs 2 weeks before closing?
Yes, there will be message board signs at each end of the bridge that'll announce that the bridge will be closed we'll have a date, which will be 2 weeks out from when they first put the signs up. That's part of the contract.
All right, Rusty, Tom is asking what City of Houston department approved the trail detour?
Texas Public Works, Houston Public Works.
All right, this one's for Gary. Elena asks, the trail crossings for pedestrians is located at some distance from the traffic light, which does not allow some cars to see if a cyclist is crossing the roads. This seems like a safety issue. Would it be possible to place a pedestrian crossing buttons to stop traffic when people need to cross?
The detours that we're placing for the east-west trail takes it to the Kirby Bridge. There's a ramp that goes from the lower trail up to Kirby. Traffic signals at Kirby. We get that the people have to follow the crosswalks to the north side, and then they follow the sidewalk north all the way to Stella Link, and then cross Stella Link, and they could get to the trail going east or coming back east or west if they, depending on how they want to go. So we're not, as part of the detour plan, we're not doing any mid-street crossings. There's presently people using mid-street crossings as they access the trails. And again, that's what Rusty had mentioned earlier. If there's some additional places that you want, that's something the city could do in the future. But as part of the detour plan, we're not proposing any cross street or at locations where there's not a traffic signal.
All right, now, thank you, Gary. I do just want to remind you that there are 3 ways you can submit a comment. We've got had some really good comments and questions come in tonight. You can submit a comment on this site in the box near the presentation live stream. You can also go to our website and submit your comments there, or you can do so at projectbrays.org. You can also give us a call. We've got a phone line set up. That number is 855-925-2801, and you'll want to utilize the meeting code 5362. Again, if you are joining us by phone tonight, you'll want to press *3 to leave a message. And any comments or questions that we don't get to tonight, you will receive a response from the Flood Control District following the public comment period. All right, and we will get back to some more of your questions. I do want to say first, Gary, maybe we should kind of hit a couple of the project highlights. I'm sure some folks are just joining in and may have missed the beginning portion. So maybe we can run through a couple highlights about this particular project.
Okay, this is a slide, Project Brays. This is the project, the Brays Bayou Watershed. There are 4 regional detention basins: the Willow Waterhole Detention Basin, Arthur Story Park, Old Westheimer, and the Eldridge Detention Basins. Those detention basins store water on the upper ends of the watershed. They hold about 10,000 acre-feet of water from storm events. The second part of our main part of the project is channel improvements, and the main channel improvements goes from Fondant all the way to the Houston Ship Channel on the east end of the watershed. The channel improvements lead to 32 bridge modifications that we've got to do all the way down by the Houston Ship Channel all the way up to Fondant. Today, we've got 10 more bridges that we still have to complete. We've got 22 that are already completed to date. The main subject of today's meeting is the Buffalo Speedway Bridge reconstruction. This bridge is going to be completely replaced. It will be shut down to traffic and pedestrian and vehicle traffic during the construction. This is one of the 3 bridges in the immediate area. We got Stella Link to the west that we're just cleaning up, and we've also got Greenbrier to the east that we've got a few punch list items that we're working on. So this is the 3rd bridge in the immediate area. The other bridges in the area, South Main, Kirby, the Brays Woods, have all had modifications to the bridges, meaning we didn't have to shut the bridges or replace the bridges. We did all the work in the channel. So we didn't inconvenience any public when we did that work. We did it with the channel work. But Buffalo Speedway Bridge was an older bridge, had a lot of short spans that we're replacing the bridge with 3 large spans that will span across the bayou. The bridge is going to be wider. It's going to have 5 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction, and a left turn lane down the center. And it's also going to have 10-foot sidewalks on each side of the bridge. Part of the work also includes a force main bridge. There's presently a sanitary force main is on the bridge, which we've got to relocate to a new bridge just to the downstream side of the bridge. The Greenbrier Bridge was completed in the fall or the summer of 2020. Stella Link was completed in the fall of 2020. And then the Buffalo Speedway Bridge construction should start by the end of the year, and it should last about a year, so it'll be finished by the fall of 2021.
All right, thank you, Gary. Scott is wanting to clarify something that you said earlier. He says it sounds like the contractor wants to close the bridge when they start the replacement, the existing sanitary sewer and water lines. If that's accurate downstream, can we challenge them on this? To have the bridge closed prematurely again would be disappointing unless there is justification other than it's convenient for the contractor. Maybe we can clarify that.
Yeah, there's a lot of work on that force main that has to be done. When he closes the road, he also has to, the force main just doesn't end at the edges of the bayou. It goes into the street, into the intersections. So he's got to close the roads east and west where it's going to go down to 1 lane. And so at the same time, he's got to close the bridge at that same time. That's the way the detours are set up. We basically given the contractor a year to do the work. And so we say, you start now. The time starts, and then he has that time period he's got to get done with the bridge. And so we don't put too many restrictions on him. It may look, he'll have probably equipment sitting on the bridge, working off the bridge, doing some of the work down on the force main. But then his whole contract is once he starts, the clock starts, and he's got to be finished in the time period. So he's got a pretty hefty liquidated damage that he'll get into at the end if he doesn't get complete.
All right, thank you, Gary. And Mark is asking, who is the city council member for the bridge area? And that answer is Mrs. Abby Kamen from District C. Next question will be to Rusty, and Caroline is asking, just curious, how does one keep debris from falling into the bayou when demolishing a bridge?
That's a good question. Further downstream where there's no concrete lining and it's just an open bayou, the contractor typically uses like barges. Like they float the barges in and like drop all the stuff on the barges. And in this case here, what they'll probably do is put railroad ties down with matting to cover all the existing concrete. And when they drop the concrete, it will land on that, and they're able to excavate it up and put it in trucks and take it out.
All right, that's an interesting process. For Gary, Rebecca is asking if there are any plans that you know of to resurface Buffalo Speedway and fix all the potholes.
In the immediate area of the bridge, we'll be replacing, because the bridge gets replaced, it gets higher and longer. We're replacing all the pavement on both intersections on North Brayswood and South Brayswood. And the road will be replaced further to the north on North and South Brayswood. Same thing with North Brayswood, South Brayswood, and then Buffalo Speedway itself. After that, if it's outside that zone, the city of Houston will be doing, that's up to the city of Houston. We'll be matching up to the existing pavement, and it does go a fair ways north and south on Buffalo Speedway. Same thing with east and west on North and South Brayswood. So there will be a lot of work that will be new work in that area, new pavement. But if there's areas outside of that, we kind of have to, we're just trying to get the bridge replacement done. There's pavement that goes with it because of the raising of the bridge.
And Gary, we have another question. They say they're merely curious. The new Ardmore Bridge, I noticed they have been breaking the concrete out recently from the surface after pouring it. What happened?
Yeah, the contractor is doing some remedial work. The concrete that was placed didn't meet the plans and specifications that we've got, and so we were holding the contractor to the contract where he's got to fix the work that was deficient.
Rusty, we have another lighting question. Cheryl wants to know what plans, if any, there are for lighting on the bridge. I know we may have addressed that, but for folks who are just joining us, maybe we can touch on that a little bit more.
There is no plans to put lighting on the bridge, but in the design, there is designed for pedestals. You can see on, if you're watching on the computer, you can see the two pedestals that are in the middle of the bridge right above the columns. Those are where conduit will go to, that the city can in the future put light poles on, and they have to get into an agreement with Centerpoint to place the poles. We're conduit and putting the pedestals. They just have to put the wire and put the light poles themselves.
Thank you, Rusty. Gary, Bernard is commenting that the two pipelines were removed near railroad tracks. West Stella Link, the foundations are still exposed, and that they're not capped or filled with concrete. Says, please cap or backfill these pipes.
Yeah, we'll be taking care of that work. It won't be in this contract, but we have one more remaining contract that has to be let, that we're in the bidding process. Will be starting in the next couple of weeks. That's with the South Rice and the Chimney Rock bridges. That work to remove those last bridge foundations will be in that work scope to be done. Take care of that, what was still left out there.
Good deal. Gary, can we expect weekend work and possibly any evening work on this bridge?
Yeah, there's a lot of work that is very time sensitive. The contractor has to follow all the rules and regulations that are out there with the city in terms of noise ordinances and times when they could work. But we don't restrict the contractor as long as he's following all the rules and regulations. Sometimes he has to start real early in order to pour concrete. Some of the big drill shafts that are holding up the bridge that are down in the channel underneath the piers that you see on the artist rendering. Sometimes those take 20, 24 hours to build some of those drill shafts. So they've got to get a start and get them done in one day. So there'll probably be some. The traffic control is another thing, is that there may be only certain times when they could get the traffic switched over. So there'll be some. Contractor will want to do a lot, but they'll have to do some.
Thanks, Gary. Next question is for Rusty. Libby is asking if you anticipate that Brompton Street, the small street between Buffalo Speedway and Kirby connecting to North Brayswood, if that street could be impacted during construction.
No, the construction limits don't extend that far. The only impact that would happen in that area is the increased pedestrian traffic that is detoured that way from the channel.
All right, our next question is for Gary, and it is from Chuck. Chuck is asking, once the concrete lining is repaired under the bridges in the mid-reach of Brays, do you anticipate the normal flow to recede into the lower box of the channel or continue to cover the lower concrete shelf?
Yeah, on the artist rendering, it's showing the water basically across the shelves. It's not very deep in most places. Further you get downstream, like towards the medical center, it gets deep enough that you really can't drive it. But most of it's just a few inches deep, and that's just what we call the base flow going down. That's basically a lot of effluent coming out of sewage treatment plants that are upstream, and water that's groundwater that's seeping into the channel. And so once we get all the bridges replaced, we don't expect it to change much. It's It's only an inch or two deep in certain areas, so we don't expect it to change. So it'll probably still be on the shelf in some places and some places not.
Thank you, Gary. And I do want to remind folks how you can participate tonight. There are 3 ways, and you can do that. You can submit a comment on the site in the box that's going to be near the presentation live stream. You can also submit a comment on our website and also at projectbrays.org, or you can submit a comment by phone, and that number is 855-925-2801. And you'll want to utilize the meeting code 5362. And if you're joining us by phone tonight, make sure you press *3 and leave a message. We want to let you know that any questions or comments that are not addressed during tonight's Q&A session will receive a response from the Flood Control District, but that's going to be after the public comment period has closed. And also, if you'd like to receive more on this project, you'd like to sign up to receive emails and updates on this project, as well as any other projects that are going on in this watershed, you can visit projectbrays.org. We're also going to have a recording of this live stream. It's going to be available on our website and also be available on our YouTube channel as well. Our next question will be for Gary. And Gary, that is, what is the timing for replacing Alameda and Calhoun bridges?
The Alameda Bridge, which is just downstream of upstream of 288, it's in the immediate area of the Ardmore Bridge. We've got to get the Ardmore Bridge complete and open to traffic before we could do the Alameda Bridge. We're expecting Alameda Bridge to start construction sometime after the first of the year, depending on the Ardmore Bridge being complete. And we've also got some utilities. We're working through getting some of the utilities off of that particular bridge too. Calhoun is under contract with TxDOT's got a contractor that's going to be working on that bridge. They're also working through some utility problems, similar problems that we've had on some of the bridges. So Calhoun, we're hoping will start also around the first of the year.
Rusty, this next question is for you. Will the Project Brays website be updated to show construction progress and provide construction updates?
Yes, the Project Brays website will be updated and will show pictures and give construction updates. If you live in the area and you're watching the construction going, if you notice when the piers become finished at the top and the abutments are finished on the side, that'll be very soon thereafter. There'll be the columns will be the beams. I'm sorry, the beams will be coming in, and that'll be a sight to see because those are going to be 105-foot long beams, and they'll pick them up with these massive cranes and take them through the air and then place them in where they're supposed to be. And it'll be a pretty big sight to happen in that area because they do it all one after the other, so they'll do 15 in one go. So that'll be pretty interesting to see. So we'll be able to say when that's going to happen, but if you live in that area, you're going to have a much better timeline of when it actually is happening. And another thing that will be on the website soon is the progress of Project Brays since Harvey to Beta. Just that what we've done there, which was a couple bridges taken down, a couple of them completed. We ran the model for the flows that was a result of Beta, and we had over 600 homes didn't flood. That flooded in Harvey. That didn't flood during Beta because of the work we've done. So that's just every little bit helps, and every little bridge being done is very difficult at the time, but when we get high rain events, it saves homes.
Absolutely. Good point, Rusty. This next question is from Jane for Rusty. Did you say you are reducing north and south Brayswood to one lane? Can you explain again?
Yes, it's very similar to if you've driven over to the Hillcroft area. What they'll be doing is they'll take the eastbound traffic on say South Brayswood, and the westbound traffic on South Brayswood that's going to the west will shift over to the eastbound traffic at one of the medians, right about where the medians are. It'll shift over into that to where there'll be one lane going each way on the southbound lane. Instead of having two lanes, there'll just be one lane, and that'll allow the northern part of the lane to be used for staging and construction.
All right, and one more question for you, Rusty. It's from Vikram. Is there an approximate start date for the closure of the bridge?
With probably about a month from now, give or take a little while, but that's what we're that's what the contractor's shooting at. I don't want to say a date because it'll move, so before the end of the year.
Gotcha. Thank you, Rusty. All right. Well, I do want to remind you, we've given you all the ways that you can submit a comment. Want to give you a quick reminder that any portions of tonight's presentation, you'll be able to go back and watch that on our website. You'll be able to go and watch that on our YouTube channel. We're going to have the PowerPoint slides from tonight available on our website, so you can go back and have a look at those to get any information that you might have missed, or just kind of read over it again to continue to educate yourself about what's going on with this particular project. With that, we're going to go ahead and close. We had a lot of participation tonight. I do want to thank the 108 of you who joined us tonight and submitted your questions and comments. Awesome job to Gary and Rusty taking all of those questions as well. I do want to share one final reminder. Again, we are continuing to accept comments and feedback on this project through November 26th. And we also encourage everyone to get flood insurance, as flood season in Harris County is year-round. So thank you again for joining us this evening and for all of your engagement in this project. We really appreciate it. We look forward to continuing to share updates with you on this project as it continues to move forward. So stay safe and have a great evening.